Good morning, everyone. We are joining, we're going to go ahead and get started in about a minute as folks are finishing up registering and getting all signed in and ready. Morning, everyone. We'll wait for another 20 seconds or so while everyone gets logged in. Welcome. Good to see some familiar names in the chat. Welcome. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to topic 2 of the Summer Learning Framework webinar series. Today we're going to be talking through student recruitment. I'm very excited to have everyone here today as we're learning more and diving deeper into what we talked and started talking through yesterday. I do want to do some quick introductions. The work on the Summer Learning Framework has been a combination of organizations that are supporting this. First, TEA, we have a couple of us on the call today. My name is Brian Doran. I am in the Office of School Programs, Division of Innovative Instructional Models. We also have Andrew Hodge here and Shaylin Macedonio as well. With this work on summer learning, we have been partnering with Wallace and the RAND Corporation with some of the research and support that they have had for summer learning across the country. And then additionally, I want to highlight the learning agenda, and we have Hillary Orbeck here today, who are national experts in summer learning, really driving some of the work that we'll be talking through. We also have a couple folks from Snyder ISD, John Rush and Anna Montoya here, to talk through some of the practices that we'll be talking through as it pertains to their experience at Snyder ISD. A couple quick norms. We will have opportunities throughout the session for questions and things like that. Please utilize the chat function for that. And we'll be monitoring that, and we'll do our best to respond as we have those opportunities. So the Summer Learning Framework, a quick overview here in case you were not able to join yesterday. Summer Learning Framework is, we have 3 components to it. First is this statewide webinar series where we have several different opportunities to dive deeper into different topics around summer learning. We also have a suite of planning resources, tools, and templates, and an ever-growing list of district examples to utilize for specific to different topics on summer learning planning. And then finally, we have the Texas Home Learning Summer Units. So each product within Texas Home Learning has a specified summer unit that is essentially an out-of-the-box, high-quality instructional materials option for districts across the state to utilize as they see fit for summer learning. All of these resources can be found on texasHomeLearning.org/summer. So I encourage you to take a look at what we have there. Today we're talking through the student recruitment webinar. We have a series of webinars scheduled this week as well as next week. And so this week we're focusing here on the left with design and implementation. Tomorrow and Thursday we have sessions on staffing and PD and climate and culture, both at 11 a.m. Next week we'll be focusing on academics and enrichment. We'll have one session on enrichment next Wednesday at 11 a.m. And then we'll have product-specific academics components where publishers will be diving deeper into their summer unit and giving an overview on best practices and how to use their product for summer learning. And so those sessions are here as well as on the texashomelearning.org website. Also next week, we'll have 3 sessions on operations, budgeting for summer on the 6th, master scheduling on the 7th, and summer site operations on the 8th. A quick flag or plug here as we are talking through different sections. The Summer Learning Framework itself is separated out into 9 different sections, and we are currently today talking about student recruitment. We do have a core tool that captures all 9 of these components, and I'm going to go ahead and navigate over to texashomelearning.org real quick to show you where you can find that tool. So this is texashomelearning.org/summer, and we'll see at the top registration opportunities for the different webinars that we have. And then we'll get down to the framework and planning resources. And the first component here is the Summer Learning Work Plan tool. And so this is an opportunity to take a look at some of the high level key activities for each category and work through those on a 3-month planning timeline. We also have a 12-month planning timeline tab if you're interested, but the predominant focus here is this 3-month planning timeline tab. So I encourage you to take a look at this. If you want to manipulate, you can make a copy of this document and save it to your own Google Drive and use it as you see fit. We also have all of the other resources that we'll be talking through today on this website, texashomelearning.org/summer, including as well as resources from other webinar series and the recording from yesterday. So just wanted to flag that, texashomelearning.org/summer. And with that, I'm going to introduce Hillary Oravec with the Learning Agenda and John Rush and Anna Montoya from Snyder ISD, excuse me. They'll be talking through student recruitment today and talking through some tools and practices that they have undergone and created throughout the course of their planning process for summer.
Great, good morning, Texas. Good to be with everybody. And I'm super excited to be here today to talk through what is one of the most critical and challenging aspects of designing and launching a successful summer learning program, which is marketing to students and recruiting them. And so I'm Hillary Oravec with the Learning Agenda, and hopefully many of you were with us for the session yesterday with Catherine Augustine from RAND. Our team was a part of the technical assistance team with the Wallace Foundation and RAND as a part of the National Summer Learning Project. And so that's really a lot of the evidence base that we're going to be referring to throughout the week. And we've also been working with TEA, as Brian said, throughout the year to support the development of the summer learning framework and to work with a cohort of districts that entered into additional days of school year planning and execution program. So I'm really thrilled today to talk about marketing and recruitment, but not just theoretically, but to have two really wonderful colleagues from Snyder ISD talk about what that actually looked like with their districts and share some examples with you. So our overall objectives, throughout the week, we planned a webinar series that are focused on design and implementation. And they're really planned through the lens of walking you through some tools that can boil down the steps of applying the evidence base to your planning process. So today, what I hope you'll feel equipped to do as you walk away or feeling is that you understand the best practices, that they're not that difficult, they're kind of easy to grasp, that you have some examples of how other districts have incorporated it into their own plans, and that you feel equipped to start to think about how you can apply them to your own work. So if you feel that way, we'll be successful. And before we launch in, we want to kind of hear what you know. And so I talked about marketing and recruitment being challenging. We're going to dive into some of the focus groups with parents that Catherine talked about yesterday, Catherine Augustine from RAND. It was with 100 parents from 3 cities, including Dallas in your home state. And a lot of what we are talking about today is going to be informed by that. But before we do that, we want you to respond in the chats. What are some of the hurdles to recruiting and enrolling the right students, the ones that you're prioritizing for your programs this summer? So I'll wait for a couple of responses from our fastest typers, and then I'm going to start to talk through what we found in the National Summer Learning Project. So go ahead and share that in the chat.
All right, Hillary, I'm seeing some responses come through. Students may have to work during the summer. We're seeing a lot of COVID fatigue or learning burnout, maybe even some concerns about COVID still. We are need to make sure that students can log in, can get access to summer learning. Spacing issues, and then of course, consistent attendance, creating programs where students have high attendance.
Yeah, These are spot on. I'm going to share a few and then we'll check back with you as well. And I think throughout the day as we're connecting, as much as we can just kind of also take a pause and think about the lens of COVID that we're operating in, both as a challenge and as an opportunity, I think that will be really helpful. So thanks everyone for drawing that out. Okay, so from the focus groups that I talked about, one of the big things that we all should be aware of in doing this work is that many families may not be readily aware of the term summer learning. So this is something that's becoming more popular in our lexicon, but there's still an awareness gap. So it's good to be aware of that as you enter into the work. In the focus groups that were conducted as a part of the National Summer Learning Projects, the people who ran them shared some information on summer learning loss. And so the reaction that they found out is that, parents understood summer learning loss, like they understood that concept and they thought it was real, but they didn't necessarily automatically see the urgency in addressing it as a long-term trend and something that they should really care about, as something that they can't necessarily easily address within their own home. And so a lot of messages about programs being unique and kind of helping kids and why summer learning loss is important was really helpful in understanding the why. So despite the awareness issue around summer learning, summer school, I think we all know in the popular lexicon, is definitely not a good thing. It's not somewhere you want to go or sign up your kids for. So we definitely need to move away from that term overall, and kind of think about that balance of both rebranding and building awareness. Next, they've heard from parents that they really want their kids to have a say in what they want to do during the summer. So if your program isn't somewhere that they want to go or know about, they may not sign up for it. And they really are very protective of their kids' summers and want them to have fun. In summer too, one thing to be aware of in your own community, that there might be a lot of other things happening. A one-week sports program might land right in the middle of your program. So as much as you can start to map out what's happening and be aware of them and start to align those opportunities, the better off you'll be in future years. Logistics can be a challenge. So one thing we'll talk about today is talking with families. If your hours of operations are challenging for families, or you only serve specific kids for your programs, not all of their kids may be eligible, and it might put them in a bind of how they're arranging for childcare in the summer. And then finally, and this is an important one, these programs are often voluntary and not required. So one key finding is no matter what districts you're from, attendance rates are generally not as strong in the summer as they are in the school year because of that difference. Okay, any other final thoughts from the chat, Shaylin, that you call out?
Just another emphasis on scheduling, like creating a strong schedule, and summer school's perception, like you talked about.
Yep. Okay, great. So I talked about some of the hurdles, and now I want to talk about how you can overcome them. And that's what this session is all about. So number one, the biggest thing that you can do is learn from families directly. We link in our slides and throughout this summer learning recruitment guide that gives sample scripts and all of the information on these focus groups. And you should be able to leverage that. And I think you'll see how some districts that we've been working with have today. But to any degree that you can talk to families directly and get information from them, the better off you're going to be. So the key buckets that you want to think about are pretty simple. What do they think of your program, positive and negative? What do their kids think? What is it that they really want? What do they need to know to make a decision? And what are some of the potential barriers? So again, think about the logistics that we just talked about. And then secondly, in addition to learning from families and students, I'd add to that, start to equip some trusted messengers, people that families look to for advice, that if they're recommending your program, that would go a long way with them. And so these could be people within your school, so principals and teachers certainly were trusted messengers from the focus groups. Religious leaders could be as well. So kind of think about who those people might be in your own community. And then again, think about when you're talking to them about the messages that they want to convey, what need does the program fill? What's the most important benefits? What's unique or different about your program? And why, the compelling why? Why should students participate? And so it's really going to be helpful to you understand needs and priorities and align to that. Okay, and then going to the RAND research, I think this is just a helpful visual as we think about marketing. So if you have these core components, we would consider it a successful effort. So information on program requirements, those are probably the most clear. Information on program features, we'll talk about those. Personalized outreach, and those things combined build toward a successful marketing and recruitment effort. I would also add learning about your audiences as well. So examples of personalized outreach. So things like handwritten notes, conversations, presentations at PTA meetings or school boards. You want to definitely start to generate some buzz about the programs. And I wanted to add in on the slide, I think we've learned a lot in the last year about connecting with families that is different from what we did before the pandemic. And so if you found a new strategy, like sending out a text survey or text message, a survey with Mentimeter or all these new platforms that we've been using, definitely stick with those. And in terms of just getting input from families on what they want from your programs, I know that a lot of the school districts that we've been working with in the additional days of school year planning and execution program have used Thought Exchange quite a bit and successfully to get some input on their calendars, their programs, etc. In terms of the messages, so these are on the program features that in addition to the requirements, messages that tested really well with parents. And so you can take into consideration when designing your program. So number one, parents want to know who's going to be with your kids. So if you can emphasize that it's teachers, trained professionals that are going to be leading these programs, that will definitely make them feel more confident. Secondly, when we were meeting with Catherine from Rand yesterday, she talked about like the program information needs to be accurate, right? So if there's going to be academics, you really need to convey why is that important? Why is that an important aspect of this program? And stressing the mix between academics and fun, knowing that their parents really care about their kids having fun in the summer. The second set, again, I think an obvious one, parents want to know that their kids are safe and they need to know details like, do I need to arrange for transportation or will there be busing? Are you going to feed my kids breakfast? An important one, when testing messaging, the National Summer Learning Project researchers found that free generally connotated something that was lower in quality. And so it did not test well with parents. And so therefore people actually started to use no cost that was mentally associated with more of an opportunity. So that's just like an easy finding that is good to know for your flyers. And I think you'll see that in action today. The final thing I want to impress upon, and again, something that you'll see throughout this presentation, is that families are very motivated by aspirational messages. One of the surprise findings from the focus groups were that parents felt a complete lack of control over decisions around their children's educational experiences. So when they were equipped with messages about taking charge of that, they really responded well. It was very motivating to them. So we included two here. And again, I think you'll see some examples of this. But are you looking for an opportunity to take charge of your child's future? This program's a smart choice. And then supporting messages about how the program will help them sharpen their math and reading skills needed to succeed in fourth grade and beyond. Okay, so we're going to pause here. We want to hear from you again. So we are asking you to step back and think about your programs. And what aspects of your programs do you think will be most exciting for families and students? What are some of those things that you should be promoting and getting people excited about? We also put on the slide, just as you're typing these things in, also just be considering for the future, what are those things that you need to balance in terms of what do families and students need to know about the program? Seeing learning a new language, that would be very motivating for me.
This is such a great opportunity to kind of share what are things that sparkle in your program and get ideas from other districts across the state. So don't be shy.
Yeah. And yesterday too, so we asked this question, I just wanted to check back in on it and build on this. But yesterday we heard fun hands-on activities, field trips, thematic units would be exciting, and real life skills. So a program that might focus on camping and setting up tents and fishing, and then having reading materials that really reinforce and emphasize what's happening kind of in real life activities. Okay. See project-based learning?
Yeah, project-based learning. Enrichment, student alumni involvement, which is a pretty cool idea.
Great. Hands-on was definitely a big theme from yesterday. Okay. Team activities, I like that one. All right, well, you can continue to reflect on those. And again, if you have questions as we go on anything I shared so far, go ahead and type that into the chat. We'll keep checking back in. Okay, and so now we get to step back and actually hear about this work from the lens of one of our partner districts. We have John Rush, who's the Response to Intervention Behavior Coordinator. He's also the Program Manager for ADSI and ADSI PEP at Snyder. We also have Anna Montoya, who is the ACE, or 21st Century Project Director, joining us. And so we're going to go through the marketing plan that they built using a tool that's available to all of you through the Texas Home Learning site. Before we go there, I just want to see if John or Anna, would you mind sharing some basic information to help everybody on the line today better understand what you have planned for Snyder's program? What is your vision and overall goals? What will the summer look like?
So really to begin with, everybody, is our plan really has come about because we are trying to change what we are marketing. In the past, we've always done a summer program, which was really focused on star review and getting those kids to be able to pass that test. So really we're now focused on enrichment activities. So we really had a plan to move forward with this, to try to gain from pre-K through 5th grade about 500 different kids who are kind of that middle level, who just need that extra support, extra push. So we really went for our plan, gauging on that, and have those activities as we guided ourselves along with the ACE program to get those enrichment ideas and those fun activities for the kids put together.
And for RN, it was, you know, as an ACE aspect, for those of you that are 21st century, we've always offered this full, you know, the program with enrichment in the district, but of course we're limited in the students that we can service. So it definitely opens up a new window of opportunity for students that were not participating in ACE. And that's what we want to do is, you know, make a bigger impact by servicing additional students and working together as a program. So that's, we will be running a 7-week program. We found that when you take a break and, you know, students tend not to come back. So we'll be offering a 7-week program from June 14th to July the 30th. Rush, anything else you want to highlight?
I don't think so right now. I think we're pretty good right now.
Okay, great. So we're going to learn more from Snyder as we go through their marketing plan. If you have questions for them, things you want to learn about, just type them in the chat. We're going to stop at a few points. And so I'm opening now the marketing plan from Snyder. And again, as we go through this, know that this plan is actually a tool, a blank template with some example text in it that's available on Texas Home Learning /summer. But we're looking at this with their information so you can get a sense of what this looks like. So that's why I labeled it up here, that it's really this district example. So the marketing and recruitment plan includes some introductory text to share some of the basic information that I already did in this presentation. And you'll see on page 1 that there are components of the plan. There's 6 steps that are broken down into, you know, bite-sized chunks. And so the first one is set goals for recruitment. The second is identifying audience priorities. So getting back to learning from families and students and other audiences. 3, aligning messages. 4, selecting communication tactics. So how are you actually going to do the reaching out? 5, creating an execution strategy. And 6, evaluating your success, so you're equipped for future years. So this is all a part of the tool. And on the second page, we go to engage your team in planning. This table here is just some guidance to help you think about different people you might need to have at the table throughout the process. And so one thing that I'll just highlight here that may not be obvious just looking at this from the start is that it might be helpful to engage your IT department to see if you can find out information about like web hits on summer, you know, having a forum like how did you hear about us to better understand like what was most effective in your marketing and recruitment. Okay. All right, I see a request to expand my screen. I can make this larger. Thank you for adding that into the chat.
Hillary, we have a question for Snyder asking, are teachers working the 7 weeks?
So some teachers are, but what we did was whenever we went recruiting our teachers, we actually split our summer up and asked them that they could either teach for the 3 weeks before the 4th or the 4 weeks after the 4th. We also asked them, did they prefer to teach in the morning or did they prefer to teach in the afternoon? So we really broken it up and made it flexible for our teachers to be a part as much as possible. But those who said that they wanted to work 7 weeks, they're going to get the priority because we want the consistency with that child as much as possible. So you can really take this and make it your own and work it into your calendar, how it works.
Thanks, John. All right, back to you, Hillary.
Thanks. And I see, Shaylin, that you already put the recruitment flyer in. So Snyder, the primary reason that we asked them to come on today is that they had the first kind of knock it out of the park recruitment flyer that we saw from the group that we're working with. And we've seen some strong ones later that we'll share as well. So we're going to first talk about some of the steps that they took to get there. Then we'll go into that flyer and kind of unpack from there. So step one, in just the marketing plan, again, thinking about recruitment goals. So how many kids do you actually need to recruit? There are some additional steps that you should be aware of that are happening, and we're going to go through them tomorrow in the staffing and professional development plan, just to think about how many kids you actually may need to recruit based on the capacity that you have. So the idea that you might have some no-shows and lower attendance rates throughout the summer, so you may want to over-enroll to make sure that you're making the most of the resources that you've invested in summer. So assuming that that step's already happened, Snyder worked here to document their recruitment goals. So they're planning to enroll 500 students. That's elementary and middle, 90 students per grade. And then thinking about priorities, they're using MAP scores and proficiency levels to help identify the students that they would most benefit. And so they're looking at some of these other factors. We're going to go to step two, and we'll hear from Snyder kind of throughout the rest along the way of the work that they did. So step two, I think this is where it all becomes really exciting, is really the piece to think through identifying audience needs and priorities. So the tool itself will have things populated in the left-hand column that you can keep and add into or update with new audiences. So for students, they're asking you to think about target audience, example students, how you're going to get input from them on their needs and priorities. What are those needs and priorities? And then what is it that you want them to do as a result of your marketing effort? So what are those calls to action? And so you can see with Snyder that they're planning to do some surveys and some focus groups in their 21st Century or ACE program. So capturing students where they already had them, probably likely people who would show up to the summer program. Just wanted to highlight some things here around their needs and priorities. Obviously fun, we know that that's the case, and thinking about that at the forefront while also thinking about accurately for the program. We have some other audiences here, parents and caregivers. So similar strategies, but also thinking about the PTO, which is great. And thinking about how parents, they don't want them just to enroll their own kids. They want them to be talking to other people about the program. So it's really good to be clear and specific about this, because it'll help drive your plan and how you're connecting with people and your calls to action for them. Principals, interesting thing here on kind of their needs and priorities. So, it sounds like a lot of principals in Snyder might really appreciate the opportunity to have staff try new different approaches to teaching and learning in the summer, and then potentially bring them back in the school year. So those are things that they would emphasize in their messaging of why they should get on board with summer, how it can benefit them, in addition to obviously being very clear about how the program can benefit their students. And so that carries through to teachers being able to do that themselves. We know from our work, even outside of the National Summer Learning Project, that this is definitely one of the biggest attractive features for teachers, is just being able to kind of test things out in a different way than the school year and the summer. So you can carry through the rest of their organizations. So community organizations, thinking about them as partners for things like enrichment. And then finally, a thing that I loved about this plan is with the school board, that they knew that they really needed to, in their messaging, align with the district overall vision and priorities. That's critical for school boards. And they're also thinking ahead, not only to what they want their school board to be thinking about now, but in the future. So having them aware that really the call to action is becoming more familiar with their program and the importance of it, because they'll need to invest in it in the future and sustain the program. So I thought that was wonderful. I see some questions coming in, and we're going to go to those at a pause in a second, but I just want to see if John and Anna, is there anything from going through this process that you would highlight as being really kind of illuminating or beneficial to your overall work?
I think what I found is interesting is our planning started very early as part of being in this pilot. And it's interesting to see how much more interest you can build, within the community, within your own staff, if you start extra early, just promoting it. It's also been interesting to see how many pieces you you put together and you work so hard, and just to see everyone come together, you know, the people that you're working with, it's like, oh wow, we have a good established relationship there, and where those gaps are that need to be filled. So
And I think, you know, as well, on that, we really had backing from our central office, from our superintendent, from our board, as to making sure that we had gotten this moving and going in the right direction. So just having that backing from them played a big role in it. And then Anna and I have been working summer programs for about 4 years together, maybe 5 at this point, and seeing that it's been a change, but we knew everything that was going on, but to really sit down and put it to paper really helps align it and make it all run a little bit smoother as you go there.
Great, thank you. I see some questions just about the tools, and that Shaylin's dropping them in as we go to the blank template and to Snyder's example, potentially. Are there any questions for Snyder so far?
I've seen a few, Hillary. I think one of them would be that the flyer looks like it is only for elementary school students. And so can you guys speak to, is this open to all students? Are you targeting a specific group of students, or is this just for elementary school students?
So whenever we've started the process of working through the ADSE grant, that ADSE piece is mainly set up for pre-K through 5th grade. Unfortunately, in Snyder, our junior high became a charter school this year. So the whole district's junior high is a complete charter school. So they're working through their own plan on how they're going to work in their summer program. Our high school is still stuck on the basis of, we just want to do credit recovery. So they just are really bringing in students and going, okay, well, you missed Algebra 1. So here, you've got 2 weeks to do Algebra 1. We're providing you with a space to do it in. But so our real focus and goal was to focus on those students from pre-K to 5th grade, to really focus in and hone in there and get those reading skills and get those math scores up.
Perfect. Thanks, John. And just in case anyone on the call doesn't know what ADSE is, Snyder is a grant recipient in TEA's ADSE PEP program. So ADSE is Additional Days School Year program, where they're receiving grant funding to help design and implement a summer program. So ADSE funds only apply to elementary campuses, which is what John was explaining with one of the reasons why this is specifically focused on elementary schools.
Thanks. Okay, all right, so let's jump back into the plan. There's really a few more steps that we're going to focus on. So far, the work has been about documenting goals and documenting what you know or are learning about your target audiences, and how, like, what are the things that you actually want them to be doing, being more intentional about that. The next step then is, how can you actually apply that to your messaging? So this is really the core of messaging work. The tool on the Texas Home Learning site includes some examples of a message map. And a message map is a specific marketing tool that helps you identify, with a number of questions that are available to you, what are your core or banner messages that you want to be consistent across everything. And that's generally at the center of a message map. So in this example on my screen right now, the core or banner message would be looking for an opportunity to take charge of your child's future. That should look familiar from the earlier slides, because a lot of districts ended up carrying that through, knowing how powerful that was, how motivating that was for families. And then some of the supporting messages in the other boxes with the questions that it helps you go through, are thinking about those pieces that families need to, like, will be motivated by and need to know. And so the supporting messages will, or that your child will have a fun summer. This is a top quality program. It'll help your child get ready, and that this works for parents too. And so getting to those logistical pieces, that's how they really broke this out in this example message map. And so in the tool itself, again, we will help walk you through what's your core banner messages for specific audiences like students and families. What are the student benefits? What are the things that you can do to, validate program quality? What are the aspects about your program that are convenient for family? And what's your call to action? And so this example, we're going to pause on the Snyder student one and go into their flyer for the first time. So their banner message, learning today for a better tomorrow. Again, think about how that's very aspirational and gets people excited. And so here you can kind of see all the different things that they wanted to highlight about their program, the really fun activities that they'd be having, the overall hands-on learning approach. We've heard that from people, that students would have a growth mindset, build SEL skills, but really also have, academic gains coming out of this opportunity. The validations, picking up from the research that district teachers are going to be a part of this, and that people will have experience. So just take this in mind, and I'm going to show you what this looks like in action. So this is Snyder's student flyer. And I'll say, when we first saw this, it was the first time that we ever had like an A++ student on incorporating research evidence in a very obvious way into a flyer, but a flyer that's super engaging. It's not just like, okay, we tried to shove everything in here and, it's not a strong product. I mean, it's a beautiful flyer, it's engaging. And so you can see that the ultimate branding that they came up with the elementary program is Jumpstart. Again, that's also, a motivating, aspirational, positive type of term and feeling. You can see learning today for a better tomorrow on the side. It's clear who this particular program is for, the dates that it's running, the time. Teachers are going to sharpen skills. They're going to provide transportation, et cetera. And you can see that the activities on the right, I just love like the color and the pop, that there's field trips, there's art projects, there's sports camps and more, but it does not hide or mask the fact that there's going to be academics in this program. So John and Anna, I'm just curious, I think you're already started to get this flyer out there. I'm curious, what has the reception been like? And how would you compare this flyer to your previous flyers for ACE or other summer programs in Snyder?
So before, we really didn't have a flyer, so to speak. We just had a application form where you went in, you signed up your names and all that, and just got your child registered to go to ACE or go to our summer program. So we really wanted to use everybody's expertise. So we sat around, we figured out kind of what our planning was. And then I actually took some of this information back after we compared it to what information is there. And I shared it with my wife, who is actually a public relations person. And she gave me some more stuff to take care of and put in. And then we took it over to our family engagement person, who actually took all the information in and put it into the flyer. We let her work where she was the best. And then we put it out there, and we've got here in a few minutes, Anna and I are actually going to have to go on to another webinar where we're meeting with just Snyder ISD people, because we've already had 200 plus students sign up. We just put this out last Monday. We've got already 200 plus students signed up, and we have parents who are asking questions. So we need to be able to get that information out there even more.
Great. And anything you'd add?
No, I think he did a great job. I think one of the key things to take from here, though, is to be sure, and as he said, we used our family engagement specialist. He used his wife. Sometimes we take things on and do them on our own, but if your staff's strong points, it's in the flyer. It shows I could not have come up with this pretty little thing here. So know your staff's strengths and use them.
It's a great tip, and definitely emphasize the importance of having a strong leader and a strong team behind them for that reason. So lastly, again, I would just emphasize that no cost, sign up today. Those calls to action are clear, limited space available. So really communicating that this is an opportunity that you want to take advantage of. We'll feed your kids and help bring them to the program. So right up here. Before we go back into Snyder's plan, I just want to share one more example that is going to be available now and will be available through follow-up email from Grand Prairie, another one of our districts in the ADSE PEP cohort. And this is, I want to share, we've had this for a while. This is their message map. So this is just an internal document, and it's their version of the tool that I described when we were in the plan that helps you identify what's your banner message, take charge of your child's future, and their supporting messages. So again, this is related to what we saw from the National Summer Learning Project and how they applied it to their own program. So we were really excited to see this months ago. And then more recently, when we asked to share it on the website, they shared with us what that now looks like and how they translated that into their flyer. So I just want to quickly look back. I think that they called their program originally a Summer Learning Academy. You can see how that branding has evolved to be My Camp, One Team, One Dream, which is really exciting. And they have this very strong, bold message of have a blast this summer in a safe and fun environment. No cost, space is limited. So a lot of common themes. Again, so you can see how you can lift up this evidence and apply it to your own program. And to any degree that you learn, again, what families want and are able to incorporate that into your design and really amplify that in your messaging, the more that you'll have strong demand for your program. Shaylin, are there any more questions that have come in for John and Anna?
I would say not necessarily for John and Anna, but I would love to make a clarifying point that all the materials that Hillary is going through right now, the marketing and planning tool that's up on the screen, the 2 district examples, the Snyder Summer Learning Flyer, the Grand Prairie Summer Learning Flyer, those are all available at texashomeLearning.com// my apologies, summer. And they're all part of the Summer Learning Framework, which is a free suite of resources available to districts to leverage to plan for Summer 21 or Summer 22. There's no application involved to leverage the resources like this template. There's no cost required. This is simply a resource TEA has created to help districts implement a high quality summer learning program. And the Summer Learning Framework is kind of this big umbrella tent frame that we're using to go through different categories, different elements of the framework. And today's element is the student recruitment, the marketing recruitment tool. If that gives a little context to, again, why we're here today and what those resources exist for.
Thanks. Okay. All right, so I want to briefly show you, we looked at the student and family messaging to try to get people to sign up, and how did that look different for principals and teachers and school board, et cetera. So principals and teachers, we saw earlier when they were mapping needs and priorities, this idea of like teaching new strategies and how that might be motivating, that ended up translating right to their core banner message that you can see here. And so unpack program highlights, making it clear on who the program serves, how students will benefit, because principals and teachers will want to know that, and the calls to action. So apply to be a part of the summer experience today, help us recruit the right students. And so down here to the school board, so summer is a time to engage students and teachers in hands-on and experiential learning, because they know that this is something their board cares about and wants to see throughout the district. Get a sense going through here. And so I just wanted to share how some of these calls to action translated from the earlier work that they did to map all this out. But also spreading the word that everybody who's getting messaging is not just kind of building their own awareness, but also helping spread the word and being an ambassador for the program. So you can get a sense of what the tool itself will look like here when it's blank, and there's many opportunities throughout to put in your own stakeholder audiences that you want to think about. And so then step 4, just briefly, this is where you think through the tactics for actually reaching out to these people and equipping them. So the way that we have it set up is that you would highlight the ones that are in the table and add others. So it looks like here, Snyder was thinking about sending materials home, doing reminder phone calls, confirmation letters. We'll talk about that, their website. So they have a number of ways that they're getting the word out there in addition to that wonderful flyer that we saw. One-on-one outreach is really critical. Okay, and so is there anything about your tactics? Can you tell us where you are right now and kind of reaching out and getting people to sign up?
So with our tactics right now, we actually went and met with all of our staff through PLCs individually. So we had small groups there. They all were already contacting some parents. So they utilized the flyer with that information, as well as they contacted parents to get them motivated. Those went out last Monday, and the website was opened up as well on Monday, because that was our Monday after spring break, and just started getting information out. We've also got coming up, we're doing our Parent Connect podcast, and I are here in the next couple of hours. And then not only my wife, but my daughter worked for the paper as well. So starting tomorrow, it's going to be running in the calendar of events with the URL link and everything to just get everyone signed up and get all that information out in any way we can. Also on Wednesdays, our high school does a radio program called What's Up in Snyder ISD. So Hannah's going to be meeting with them from 4 to 5, I do believe tomorrow or the next week, so that we can connect more people. Any way we can get the information out, that's our big thing. And then the follow-up with our ACE program people, our teachers, our administrators is what's going to be the real kick to make sure we have all the right people that need to be there.
Thanks. I see that question from Catherine about versions for bilingual students. Sheila, I saw that you addressed that. I will say that we do have a version of a brochure for summer, a district-wide brochure in Dallas ISD that's in English and Spanish. And so I think at the very least, we can get that in the follow-up email so that you can have that to look at.
Do you have our Spanish, Hillary?
No, if you can make that available, that would be great. So I think we definitely want to.
I will send it over to you. I'm sorry, I thought we had.
Right.
I believe
we're
it's
making
in our
some
district.
real-time connections. Okay. All right. So then we already talked about identifying your audience, pulling together these messages that are aligned, and thinking about how you're going to reach out. And the last piece is really around your tactical plan. So thinking about what are the key actions, who's involved, and what are the dates. So I just wanted to bold some of the things that were happening. And Snyder, it looks like you were working on your website in February and had it launch in March. I love that you thought about beta testing and what has to happen with reviews and approvals before it goes live, and just thinking about that logically and realistically. Some forward thinking planning. It looks like you're developing some of these reminder call scripts. Again, these things are all prompted in the tool to help you think about, but you can see how Snyder was in their own districts. Their enrollment forms, they were doing hard copies and Google Forms. We really emphasize, as you'll see, that hopefully you're making enrollment available in multiple methods so that it's as easy as possible for families. You don't want any barriers there. And so I can just scroll through here, but Anna and John, can you just share with everybody as we start to kind of close out, where are you now in the process? What are you getting ready to do, and kind of what are you tackling?
So in the process right now, we are really focused on making sure that our academic curriculum is completed and gets here. And then we're also inside of this, just really making sure that we do those follow-ups. We're in that first week of recruitment, so we knew we'd see a big flux, and then we really want to get the follow-up and see who hasn't signed up that we may need. And I actually reached out to principals this morning to say, hey, this is who we've already recruited. Who else might we need? And they are sharing that with teachers so that teachers can continue that process and just make those follow-up phone calls and contacts.
And do you have any parting words of advice for people who are just kind of getting started about this and want to think about things that they can do now to get ready for summer?
I think a lot of it's going to be as quickly as you can get the word out there, number one. Number two would be utilize all those people around you. I mean, there are people with their expertise, and it's a lot to do, but it can be done, especially if you divvy up the work between people where they can be utilized best.
And make sure you get your administration team on board, because they're key. They have the ability to give you the space to back you up, with the other district departments, such as transportation, technology, all those little pieces that the food service. So make sure you get them involved in the summer process so that they can see the impact you're trying to make.
Well, thank you both so much for sharing that. I know it was really helpful to me to have some examples to walk through, and I know everybody must appreciate that as well, just to see that instead of a blank tool. So thank you, and thanks again for your wonderful work on that flyer. We look forward to keeping in touch about your progress. So as I lead out, I just want to share some of the high-level milestones, again, thinking about the people who are really just getting started with this effort now. So some recruitment milestones headed into summer. April should really be about planning enrollment. So making sure that you are determining your processes, getting any enrollment or consent forms together, training your ambassadors, like we've talked a lot about during this call, and getting that registration open and ready to go. May, then you shift to focusing on registering students. So if you can, a great thing to do is host a registration fair at your schools, particularly if there's already an event going on, thinking about attaching to that. You want to make sure that you have a firm enrollment deadline date so that you can plan things like transportation, get students signed up into their classrooms, teachers knowing who they're going to be serving. And again, that critical piece that we're going to talk about in a second, sending confirmation letters home. In June, reminding families. So once people sign up, again, this effort cannot leave off there, or you're going to have a lot of no-shows potentially. So making sure you're just sending reminders. Some people have done welcome cards. And then the last piece that's semi-related, as you think about day one of your program and getting kids to continue to attend, I think one of the best things that you can do with that as a no-cost measure is to make sure that there are intentional getting to know you activities with the students and teachers involved in the program. So if your students feel like they make one meaningful connection with another child and adult in the program, they're much more likely to come back. So definitely something I wanted to leave you with to think about. And then finally, I saw Brian share this in the chat, and I want to emphasize this as well. As much as you have a long planning window, obviously you're going to benefit from the ways that you can reach out to families and think about your program design. But it's certainly never too late, especially with all these new tactics that you can use, like thought exchange, just text messages, different easy survey techniques to reach out to families to both learn from them and spread the word. So these kinds of things can certainly quickly inform your marketing and recruitment efforts, but there might be some easy tweaks that you can make to your design as well. So just don't want to deter you for doing that. Definitely go for it. Again, make registration as easy as possible. Online registration can be limited. Think about, who might your different registration processes benefit and not benefit. If you're going to have more than one process, you just need to think about how you're going to track that. So that's the important consideration in the challenge there. And then finally, post-enrollment communications are essential to making sure that students show up on day one. So your efforts do not stop with registration. Okay, with that, are there any burning questions? Shaylin?
I think we have covered most of them. I'm following up with Lisa Gonzalez now. Lisa, I'm typing to you. But other than that, it looks like people are interested in CRIMC, interested in Texas Home Learning, Summer Learning Framework, ADSI, and of course, I will put the email in the chat. If you guys have follow-up questions after this webinar, we would love to follow up with you. So please go ahead and reach out to Texas Home Learning at tea.texas.gov. We will put that in the chat.
Great. Thank you, Hillary. Thank you, Anna and John, for talking through the marketing and recruitment plans. Couple next steps for folks on the call. One, you can access the marketing and recruitment tool on texashomeLearning.org/summer in that section that I highlighted at the beginning, specific to student recruitment and marketing. We also have the work planning tool that you can utilize with sections on student recruitment for some of those high level key activities. And then finally, take a look at texashomeLearning.org/summer for some district examples and other resources specific to student recruitment as we get them up. We mentioned CRIMC a couple of times during this conversation. So if you were not able to join us or if you're not familiar, I'll do a quick overview right now. So the COVID Recovery Instructional Materials Support Initiative is affectionately known as CRIMC. And we have 3 opportunities for districts as they're looking at Texas Home Learning products. So the first is spring adoption coaching. This would be for districts who are interested in potentially exploring what THL options they might have for this 21-22 school year. And that would be coaching essentially this spring to think through that adoption process. The second is a summer pilot, so very pertinent for folks on this webinar. And this is where you would look at piloting a Texas Home Learning summer unit, and we would give you some additional supports, professional development for teachers, printed materials, as well as stipends for teachers who are participating in this pilot. And so this would be for this summer. I encourage you to take a look. And then the final one is a 21-22 full year pilot where you'd be looking at utilizing Texas Home Learning materials for the full 21-22 school year. We'll have some additional supports for you. I do want to flag that the application for the spring adoption coaching as well as the summer pilot is coming up quickly on April 9th. So do take a look on the sooner side if you are interested in those components, and similar to everything else on this webinar, feel free to reach out to Texas Home Learning at tea.texas.gov with any questions. We also have a CRMSI specific page on the texashomelearning.org website. Reminder, we do have 2 more webinars this week, and then several webinar opportunities next week, including deeper dives into each product for Texas Home Learning with their summer units. And so if you're looking at those opportunities, those will happen starting on the 5th all the way through, I think the last one is on the 8th next week. And then we also have operations opportunities next week as well. And with that, I think we'll field any last questions that we see in the chat, and then also open this up for an exit ticket. We would love to hear, while we are fielding questions, what are 1 or 2 takeaways from this session that you anticipate applying to your summer planning process? We'd love to hear any thoughts or feedback that you have here. Shaylin, any questions that have come across that we can answer here in the last couple minutes that we have?
Pretty quiet right now in the chat box, but you never know, can come in. A thank you from Gregory Nelson. Thank you, Gregory Nelson, for joining us. A couple shout outs to the marketing guide. It's awesome. Chandler Dixon likes the message map. Awesome. We're really grateful you guys like these resources. Using no cost over free messaging. Gotta love some strong messaging. Parent podcast, go Snyder. That was a great share. Planning in advance. Yes. Very important. Remember, we have that 3-month planning schedule out on the Summer Learning Framework Master Tool. Kimberly Brumley likes that Snyder's open application has drawn a lot of interest. Wants to know, have the kids been, have they sought out specific kids to sign up? John and Anna, that is for you guys. Did you have a target group for your summer program, or is it all elementary students?
We are creating around K through 5. We would like all of them, but we're really targeting what most people would consider those bubble kids, those who have had some struggles but have seen some success, and just trying to get them over the hump as they're ready to go on. So we really opened up to everybody just to give everyone a chance. And then if we, for some reason, get too many, that's whenever we will start using our criteria to eliminate some people. Hopefully we don't have to do that.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. So it was an open to all elementary school kids, but definitely have some target kiddos in mind.
Yes. And so that's why we also have reached back to our teachers and said, this is who we've already got. Let's go hit those target kids and let's make those phone calls once again.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you again, Snyder.
And also, I just remembered we're actually put this out on our Parent Square, on our Facebook, and on our Twitter page as well. So you use all those resources just to get information out.
Awesome. That's great dissemination. Thank you, John. Seeing some additional comments in the chat. One from Linda saying that she appreciated the idea about letting parents know that academics are included in the program, providing information beforehand. And yeah, we look forward to working with you guys as you plan for summer 21.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining us today. You will see a recording of this posted later today, and please feel free to check out texashomeLearning.org/summer for resources from today, as well as the other days and other topics that we'll be covering throughout this summer learning framework. One last plug: for any questions, feel free to reach out to the email address on your screen. And with that, thank you for everything that you do for Texas students, and looking forward to seeing some great programs this summer.